And it's going to be a series where I intentionally interview various musicians, influencers, maybe some psychologists, therapists, just get a whole full spectrum of the range of mental health in the entertainment and music industry. Today we have Sterling Banks, multi-talented artist hailing from Midwest. And then I'll start with a couple questions here. Just want to kind of get to know you a little bit, let our audience know what's going on. Welcome to the Mental Health Monday, Sterling. Could you tell us about your journey into the music industry?
Well, that's quite a story. I first started doing music when I was 4 years old. I am 20 years classically trained on the piano. So I started pretty young and then did like choir and bell choir and stuff like that growing up throughout school and church. And once I turned 16, I learned how to play the guitar. I guess like in elementary, junior high, and high school, I played trumpet, saxophone, and French horn. And then I learned to play guitar when I was 16. And when I was 18, I started my first band and was doing shows in Iowa. That's like where I'm originally from. So I was doing shows in Iowa, and from there, I've just been in all types of stuff. I've been in a disco band, I was in an electro-acoustic hip-hop band, I've been in duos, I've been the most recent project, the Sterling Banks solo artist project of me doing hip-hop stuff where I'm creating all of the stuff for it. So yeah.
That's really cool. So from 4 years old on, that's really cool. A lot of experience. You probably have a well-rounded view of music, the company, and like how it fits together and different genres and such. So that's really cool. One more
Yeah.
question to get started here. What was the defining moment that made you realize that you wanted to be a part of the music industry?
That's a good question. I would say the defining moment for when I decided that not necessarily just being in the music industry, but music was something that I wanted to do and be a part of permanently and career wise if I could. I did a lot of piano competitions when I was growing up, and there was one year where I scored perfect. You weren't competing against anybody, but you were judged. And I scored perfect that year. And I kind of like don't even really remember being there in front of the judges or anything. Like, it was like I felt like I had like transcended outside of my mind, and I was just like so connected with the piano and the music and what I was doing. And I'm like, wow, like this is so much a part of me and so much my passion. Like, it's amazing to feel that way. So I guess for me, feeling that, it's hard to go back from there. From then on, I was like, yeah, music.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So that was in high school, you said?
That would have been, gosh,
Or,
seventh or eighth grade, I
oh,
think.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself. What I thought would be fun for this was to gamify it. And so what I did is I made a series of spin wheels. I'm going to send you a link for the category selector, and we'll spin a question and get your answer.
Okay, so I tap to spin the wheel. Here we go, guys. Role of technology.
All right. It says, what tech tools do you use to manage stress or your mental well-being?
Specifically with music or just in general, I guess, is my question.
Either one, however you want to answer it.
I would say for like the music industry specifically, I use Asana with my manager that helps kind of organize everything. I get really stressed out when shit is like not organized, on time, planned. Like, that's how I kind of so consistently am putting stuff out and keeping up with everything. I always have the content. My releases are like rolled out. I get very stressed out if that's not organized and I don't know what's going on and I don't like have a plan for it. So I use tools like Asana. I use the Meta Business Suite for like scheduling posts. Obviously FaceTime because my manager has an iPhone, so we spend a lot of time in. He lives in Colorado, so we spend a lot of time on meetings just via FaceTime. Those would be like the main tools for me that kind of reduce the stress. I would say personally, I'm a big user of activity app through Apple. So like I go on walks in the morning, at night to kind of de-stress myself
I love
personally.
walking.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I on the Apple products. There's like an activity app that like tracks all of that, and I have the watch so I can see throughout the day like where my progress is on my goals for like standing, moving, exercise, etc. So that's a big one that I use to kind of keep track of that and make sure that I'm doing stuff that's still stimulating my sensories. Like that's why I love walking, because it's still stimulating my sensories, which needs to be done. But like I feel like if I'm not doing it in that healthy way of like walking and seeing the leaves, feeling the breeze, smelling the flowers, that kind of stuff, then I'm just like going places like to the grocery store and stuff like that, and it's so overstimulating to me. And so it's like I need to stimulate my sensories in a healthy way. And so I personally love the activity app on Apple for personal mental health.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm hearing is you're very goal oriented and like to track the progress of your goals. And
I
if you're
do.
not able to do that, it kind of puts you in a little bit of a disarray, which I fully relate and I can understand that because I'm not familiar with Asana, but I do use Notion. I just came across that.
I like it. I like it. It was a little bit of a learning curve at first, and I ended up not like we use like the free version, and I like that a lot. I don't want to necessarily pay for something right now. Like in the future, maybe yeah, if there's like a huge team that needs to be a part of it, there's some cool features on like the paid versions, but everything that we need for all intensive purposes right now can be used on the free version. So I love that too. I'm not like coming up out of pocket to keep my life organized. I'm pretty old school though, so like tech specifically, I'm pretty old school. I still use a personal planner, like a actual physical planner. I still write out a lot of my notes instead of like typing them out. I write out a lot of my notes, stuff like that. Like I'm very old school, so it's not necessarily always tech that's helping me. Sometimes I gotta unplug.
You can visualize it. Like you said, planners. I have a planner. I have tons of notebooks and planners for throughout the years. I still reference once in a while, like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. That's really cool. But with the technology, I have not done it as much just because there's more cables to be plugged in and apps to be downloaded and it gets to be overwhelming. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from.
Personal experiences and coping mechanisms. Ooh, I love where this is going.
Question is, could you share an experience where your mental health had a significant impact on your work?
Yes, I can share an experience on where my mental health affected my work. Um, I would say that's kind of for me, it's actually an everyday battle. Like I go like this with my emotions. They're very wavy with my emotions and my mental health. And so I find that like when I'm on those down slopes, I get so incapacitated that like I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to do stuff. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to get out of bed. Specifically like for like 9 to 5 work, I've seen it in my past where it just like affected my ability to show up to work or to perform well at work. For music, it's a little bit different. Music is kind of where I put all of that stuff. So I do any song I make, whether it's a cover, a mashup, or an original, any song I make, it's me expressing like what I have to get out of my inside.
Right.
And so when I'm feeling like low on the mental health spectrum, that's kind of when I start writing like my sad songs. And then when I'm on the high end of my mental health spectrum, that's when I'm writing like big dick energy songs and happy songs. And so it's not as effective in the music for me as it is in like a 9 to 5, but I have seen it where it's like I know I have to get this, this, and this done for the release. I don't want to do anything, and I wait to the last minute and procrastinate on it, which just stresses me out and further makes it, like I'm getting more stressed out now because I'm not doing it. And so, I mean, I don't have the answer for it. I'm lucky to have people around me that will burst into my bedroom and be like, look, bitch. Get
Those are the
up.
friends you need.
You need to do your stuff. It sucks. I know. Like there's not really an answer for it, but just having a support system is really nice that of people that will hold you accountable. Like it's nice to be listened to. It's nice to I mean, I see a therapist and I need that, but it's nice to have friends that don't just like yes man listen to you, but also hold you accountable and be like, look, do the thing. You know you
Yes.
have to.
Yes. That is so great. I just put out a Substack article this morning. I wrote it last week, but it's pertaining. The second section in there is how to build a support system and making sure that you have people that are not yes ma'ams, but actually giving you honest opinion and feedback and saying, hey, maybe this isn't the right decision, or maybe you need to look at it a different way and help give you some rounded perspective. Because if you just have people that are just yesing you all the time, that's not good either.
It to me, I personally don't do well with those kind of people. Like that stresses me out more than anything. I tend to like have people around me and I'm that kind of person too, which I'm that way too where I'm like, here's the blunt honest truth, like you might not like to hear it, but I think you need to hear it. And I think that's especially important in the music industry. Chris and I were literally just talking about this the other day, where like sometimes you can tell an artist an opinion as constructive criticism about a song or a project or something like that, and or something that they need to work on to further grow their craft, and they get very personally offended by it. And while I understand that and I validate that, and for me, when communicating with people, it's finding that balance of meeting them where they're at so they can receive what I'm hearing, but also I'm letting them know the truth that I think they need to hear. But like when it comes to whether I'm viewing someone's project or song, regardless of whether they asked me or not, I will always give them at least one like and one dislike. Like I'm not going to sit here and shit on somebody. I'll tell them something I liked about it. But I ask for that in return, like when I show friends or Miles, or well, Miles, I don't even ask Miles anymore. He's like, well, here's my thoughts. But like when I show friends or my partner or whatever, like anytime I'm showing somebody something that I'm working on, I ask them to give me, like one, two, or three likes and then an equal amount of dislikes because I want that. I want to have that constructive criticism. When I first started doing the solo project for Sterling Banks, I worked at a studio and my boss was Lyrical TMG. He's an accomplished musician, he's an accomplished producer, he does a lot of phenomenal videography work. And one of his I worked with Lyrical TMG, and one of the things that he would always do, not just to me but just kind of in general when he listened to people's projects, he would often say it's decent. And while it made me crazy, and I literally quote it in one of my songs because I had just showed him a project that I was really excited about, and then I did the Billy Goat song that's actually released shortly thereafter. The beginning line of the song is "Bitch, I'm better than decent." I make the whole year feel like Scorpio season, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
But
nice.
although it drove me crazy that he would do that, I would never be mad that he did that because I knew that he was just trying to push me to the most of my potential that he knew and saw that I had. So
Yeah,
I
I
you
think that
gotta
honesty
you
comes
gotta
from a
meet
place of
that with a grain
compassion.
of salt. Yeah, exactly. Like you've got to be able
Absolutely.
to take that and not feel like it's a personal attack on you, but it's somebody trying to push you to be your better self.
Yeah, I have tremendous respect for Brandon McCullum because he's somebody that I've always gone to with music, and he'll give me honest feedback. Be like, bro, those drums are in the right spot, but they're not slapping the way they should be, or that melody
Yeah.
is fire, but you need to tone it down a little bit here and there or something. And it's, yeah, exact. The positive with the positive feedback and positive criticism come from a place of compassion.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so important, especially in the music industry, because, well, so when I worked at the studio, I was recording rappers all the time. Like, that was one of my main jobs, was recording audio engineering. And so many of these kids would come in and they'd have their friends with them, and their friends are just like, yeah, this is the hardest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, here's something that I think would make it sound really good. I think this would elevate your sound. It's finding part of that compassion is finding that balance of being able to meet someone where they're at and saying it in a receivable way so they don't feel personally attacked by it. Not everybody is, super thick skinned in that way. I find myself to be kind of more thick skinned. I'm like, all right, well, if you didn't like it, just tell me. But not everybody
Same.
feels that way, like some people are going to be very hurt, and so it's being able to find the appropriate way to communicate that to them. Give me just 1 second. Yeah. To me, I feel like there has to be a balance between what I'm doing and my kids, like I can't stop what I'm doing to give my kids attention all the time. And so for me, it's kind of like finding a way to still make them feel heard and still make them feel included while also like accomplishing what I need to get done. So, or here, I know what you could do. Come here. Do you want to spin the wheel for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you click this button right here, and that thing will spin.
Boo, boo.
Category is creative process and mental health. Yay!
Creative process and mental health. Great. How do you handle creative blocks or slumps? This one, either one.
Do I handle creative blocks or slumps? I mean, it's a little bit different. I don't handle them, I would say. I just kind of don't make music for a while if I can't make music. Like, for me, it's really hard to force something because all of my music is just kind of me telling my story. And if I don't feel like I have a story to tell right now, then I can't make a song. And so I just don't make music for a while. A lot of it kind of comes and goes. And I guess how I plan around that is I have built up my catalog so that I can continue to release stuff. I can continue to seem like, oh my gosh, she's over there doing the most. Meanwhile, it'll be, 3 months and I haven't made a song. So I'll be in a state of mind where I will be so creative and in tune. I'll be making one song a day, a couple songs a day, and then it'll flop to the other side, and I won't be making. Shh, Moira, please. I won't be making any music at all. So I guess the way I handle it is.
Do
Go
you find
ahead.
that the same for recording versus like your artist self versus the producer self? Is there
Um,
maybe more analytical side that isn't creatively blocked if you're having maybe a slump day or week?
I I don't think they align. Like, I will still try and make beats, and sometimes I'll be able to not make beats. Like, I'll be in a block with making beats, but I could still write a song, like, to pick someone else's beat and make a song to that. Or the exact opposite, where I can be making beats and not be able to write songs. So they don't always happen at the same time. Each one, like for each different aspect, it has its own little waves. Sometimes they're all in line and I am mecca productive. And then I just stack it all up. So then when I know I'm going to hit that slump and I don't have the capacity to make any music, then I have stuff available and ready.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
sounds like you mentioned Miles a few times. Miles Graves, that's your manager,
Yep.
and I've known Miles for a couple years. I don't know him too well, but I've talked to him on over the phone and met with him a few times. Really enjoyed our conversations, and just very humble, real nice guy, and very informative too. Always has a lot of great stuff to say. He took a look at the sync catalog that I'm doing and gave me a lot of great feedback on it. And so I'm glad that you have Miles on your team. It sounds like he's a great support system for you and helps you keep that stock when if you have 4 or 5 songs pre-recorded and you're not feeling like recording this week, maybe he's like, oh yeah, you got this one. This might be good to do next week or something.
And that's kind of like the climate that we're in right now. I haven't really like advertised it or promoted or anything like that. I'm just doing it, and eventually people will kind of catch on that that's what's happening. But as of last week, started this where I'm dropping a single every single Wednesday for the foreseeable future. I mean, my catalog is like 100 songs deep of unreleased music, so
Nice. That's amazing.
and
That's
stuff that I'm like
amazing.
not putting towards sync, like releasable stuff for the Sterling Banks brand. It's like 100 deep catalog. So
Wow.
we're doing that so I can sit back and work on like putting out a hefty album next year that I can actually sit down and take the time and really make it something better than the last album that I did. Like the point is to try and put out better and better and better content. And so I'm like, here, let me satiate and have all of this stuff going out consistently while I sit back and work on sync catalog and an album and this other stuff over here. So
Man,
yeah.
true hustler. True hustler. Just going,
You
going,
know,
going. I think we have time for, let's do one more and then
self care and lifestyle choices. I love where this is going.
how do you incorporate physical activity into your routine and how does it affect your mental state? That's great. That's kind of how you opened up.
I incorporate physical activity. I guess my main thing is going for walks. I mean, she rides her bike while I walk and go like we'll walk around the block, or like on Tuesday mornings we ride up to Puffy Cream Donut and get a donut. So making sure that I'm still doing some form of physical activity all of the time. I think that when I kind of fall off of doing that, I can see that decline in my mental health where I'm like exhausted all the time, but I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, why am I so tired? All I do is sleep, but I'm not actually doing anything because all I'm doing is sleeping. Why am I so tired? So I think making sure that you have that physical activity within your day is important. And I think it's important as an artist too, because when you go and do shows, like it's hard to stand up there and like perform and do your songs and you like get out of breath and stuff because you're not used to performing your songs. I mean, you sing your song. I sing my songs. I guess I don't know what other people do. I sing my songs and I listen to my songs all the time, so I know them, but I'm not performing them in the sense that I'm like jumping around on a stage. So specifically like in the music industry, I will tend to, before performances, like the week before, I will be practicing, and I will be practicing as if I'm on stage, like I'm jumping around. And like that's also a muscle that you have to build up, like your lungs and being able to perform while under physical activity. So I think it's important to have that kind of physical activity, especially in the music industry.
Absolutely. I don't know if the general public understands necessarily how much energy you're exerting as you're performing, especially as a vocalist. Your whole diaphragm and your whole core is being worked out through the entire performance because you're literally squeezing the diaphragm and projecting as loud as you can. Granted, there's the use of technology and mics and everything to help amplify that, but your natural essence of your voice needs to be projected from you in order to get it out there. So I fully understand. And it's great to have, if you're a musician or in the music industry, having some type of physical outlet just to get your mind away from that sometimes too. Because I think you said earlier, if you sleep too much, it kind of compounds. Kind of like if you sleep too much in one day, you get tired, you can't get up. If you do that over time, that compounds too. And you start getting in your kind of maybe lagging in your daily routines.
And I think a lot of that, this is going to sidebar really hard, but I think a lot of that has to do with what you consume. So I'm going to go on a couple sidebars here.
Go for it.
Recently I read let me cover the Lily's ears. Recently I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
It's a
That
good one.
to me is such a good read. And so like starting to compartmentalize and understand that the key to happiness is actually fairly simple, that like we as human beings naturally want to solve problems, and life is going to have all of these problems, and that doesn't mean that we're unhappy. Then the key to happiness is finding problems that you enjoy solving. And so I think when you find problems and when you consume stuff that elevates you in your mind state, and like if going to the gym, if you enjoy going to the gym, like having that physical activity, or consuming good food, like consuming music that doesn't necessarily like, I think it's important to connect with music, but that's why I'm so interested in so many different genres, is because I don't want to just like live in one space of music. I don't want to just be listening to party rave music all the time, or like
Put into a little box.
bluegrass country songs all the time. Like I want to be able to move my mind state around and not become what I'm consuming. So I think it's important to think about what it is you're consuming and how that is affecting your mental health.
Absolutely.
Sorry for the sidebar.
No, I love it. I fully believe I'm a product of my environment. I'm a product of who I surround myself with. I'm a product of what I consume, and I find myself even now watching less certain types of shows or less TV. If I do watch TV, it's maybe with an intention of like, oh, what does this have for music, or what is the direction of this story, or even food. Now I'm becoming very conscious of what I'm eating, and it's like, well, it's hard to eat healthy, very organic and clean. A lot of it might be saying that it is, but it's
So
hard to know where it
expensive.
actually came from.
And it's just so expensive to try and eat healthy. Like, again, total sidebar. We were driving to Iowa to pick up her brother, and we stopped at the truck stop gas station. It's like a big one in Albert Lee, the Trail Center. We've stopped there and hit the McDonald's from time to time, but it was just me and my 4-year-old daughter. And for lunch for us, it cost $30. And I'm like, we could have gone through McDonald's and each had a full meal for $13. So why is it
Yeah,
that
it's hard.
because I'm trying to eat something healthy and not fast, greasy food, it's costing me more than double to attain that? Like, it blows me. I don't
It's
I
hard.
don't get it. It
Yeah,
should not be
it's
so expensive. But I think like one of my goals in life is to be able to have land. I mean, I would love to live out in the country. Obviously, that's not going to happen anytime soon, but at least like when I buy my house, having a big enough space where I can grow vegetables and fruits and like stuff like that, like seasonings and all types of stuff. Like I want to be able to grow some of that stuff myself and enjoy. First of all, I enjoy plants. As you can see, I'm surrounded by all my dirt babies right now. So I think also being able to create some of that organic healthiness for yourself is important. And I think there's a lot going on in society that pushes that. Like my mom was very healthy and she homemade all of our food and stuff like that. And so I, as an adult, see that in other adults that weren't necessarily raised that way and consume like so much processed sugar and stuff like that I'm like, I didn't really get that as a kid, so now as an adult I don't really care for it. Like it's not something that I necessarily crave. I don't drink a lot of soda. I don't like that kind of stuff. I just don't really like it because I never really had it as a kid, but it compounds on itself as like if you're consuming it for so long, it's something that you crave, it's something that you enjoy, it's something that you want constantly. And so I'm very thankful that I was raised in a home where I didn't have that. And there are things like I love cheese. Cheese is my favorite food. Just cheese in
just
general is
cheese.
my
Doesn't
favorite
matter what
food.
kind.
Cheese. I eat a lot of cheese. And my like guilty pleasure is the Cracker Barrel shells and cheese. Like
Okay.
Velveeta started it, but Kraft has them now, and Cracker Barrel has some. You get the noodles and you cook it, but then the cheese comes in the bag in the little
Okay.
pouch, and so you don't use like milk, and it's not powder and milk and butter and stuff like that. Processed cheese in a little
And
pouch.
And so you
And
just throw the noodles away and eat the
I think,
cheese.
oh, no, 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 no. Like I make the mac and cheese, but I make that mac and cheese a lot. And I would say I'm probably addicted to mac and cheese. I know that eating that processed cheese is like so bad for me. So bad. It's processed food in general. It's just not good. And because everything's processed, it's like, well, what are you
Everything.
gonna do? So,
Yeah, going back to talking about growing your own food and stuff, my family's big on prepping and getting ready in case something does happen, and also growing your own food. And we've been talking about how we can get some land to do that, but the topsoil we've been talking about is going to be hard to grow nutrient food on because the topsoil, the first couple feet, over the last however many years, we've been spraying these chemicals over the air and in the on the crops and the runoff and everything. And so we're like, we want to grow food, but is that how much better is that going to be? And so, we have to weigh these things and determine what's best for ourselves and our own community. But I fully understand, and it is very hard to eat consciously if you want to eat
interestingly
healthy.
enough, NPR did an entire story on and I never could figure it out. So like when I was a kid, I loved apples. And as I got older, I couldn't eat them anymore because it would just like it makes my mouth and throat kind of like numb and itchy and just it's I don't
I
like it.
have
So
that.
I never eat apples anymore. And NPR actually did an entire story about how apples specifically, it's not just apples, but apples is one of the big ones that they've seen. Kids in a generation now as adults not being able to eat them because of the pesticides that they have started using, and how it's not that like you're allergic to apples or the fruit or anything, it's that you're allergic to the pesticides that they're using. And I'm like, that's so interesting. Like I that 100% track. Like that made it make so much sense because I'm like I ate apples all the time as a kid. Why can't I eat apples anymore? Like you don't just develop an apple allergy.
Because I have something called oral allergy syndrome. I can't eat fruit without that exact thing happening to me. But that's been my whole life. I can't eat bananas, apples, pears, peaches, grapes. Berries don't do it that much, but melons are real bad. I can't have watermelon, avocado, tomatoes, oranges, any of it. My whole mouth gets numb, itches, kind of swells up a little bit. If I eat oranges, they just come right back up. Tomatoes, my body doesn't like it. And I've always been like, my body shouldn't not like these things. These are natural. These are from the earth. No reason why I should be rejecting this. And then somebody on TikTok sang this song about how they can't eat any of the same fruits and vegetables, and they said it was called oral allergy syndrome. So I started researching that, and I don't know. I would more suspect that it's due to the pesticides and the way that it's grown. I don't think if I would have had those same fruits and vegetables 40 years ago, and if I was this age, I don't think I'd be having the same reaction. So I am always like, well, this is really shitty because I want to eat healthy, but I suffer when I do, and it's just all right. Sometimes I'll eat it. I still have apple, grapes sometimes, but I'll just deal with the pain for about 5 minutes. It's not bad. It's just annoying, but
Right. I mean, same. So I'm allergic to peppers, but like I like food with peppers in it. I don't want to not eat peppers. And so I've like grown because when I was younger, it was bad where like I could cut a pepper up and have an allergic reaction. Whereas
oh
like
wow.
now, like I can eat salsa and stuff like that. And I just kind of gauge how much I'm eating, and I don't eat a ton because otherwise it really does make me feel like crap. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of like, well, I'm not going to give up peppers. I'm not going to eat them all the time, but I'm going to slowly over time kind of just work my way through the allergy and eat as much as I can before becoming incredibly uncomfortable because they're tasty.
I love peppers too. I feel it. Well, I definitely appreciate this. Yeah,
Yeah, this
I've
was
enjoyed
fun.
this.
I like the way
Good,
the
good,
wheel and the setup. That was good. Definitely good.
good, good. I thought I would take the pressure off of both parties, not knowing what to say or what to ask,
Yeah.
and kind of make the flow of things. And then you never know where it's going to go.
I feel like I went off on a handful of sidebars there, so
No, that's great. I mean,
it
people want to
starts the
see that.
conversation but allows it to go anywhere.
If you want to let people know where they can find your music, merch, website, anything that you want to share. I know that you've been dropping videos. You put out The Rabbit Hole and Roaming Charges. I enjoyed both of those a lot, and I think I gave a couple of them a like and share. I'm going to go ahead and link some of those when I put this out on YouTube. That way people have access to that. But if you want to give your little spiel.
So I'm on all streaming platforms as Sterling Banks. I'm on all social medias at Sterling Banks Baby. Um, you can pretty much find me anywhere. I'm all over the place.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.